Welcome to Prop Lock and Drop It, an Action Network show that tells you which props to bet during the NFL playoffs. And we are finally at the final game of the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl, Chiefs, 49ers. I'm sick of talking about the storylines. I just want to know the bets. And I think I came to the right place because I'm Tim Kalinowski and I'm joined by Sean Kerner, Nick Giffen, and Chris Raybon. Those three guys are all smarter than me. And just for some evidence here, as we get rolling along on this game, what happens here is each of these guys, we play 2 rounds. They each give a prop. I select which one that I want to lock in, essentially tail, and then we do it all over again. So 2 rounds of that with all these guys giving a prop. They're essentially given 6 if you stick around, and tail all 6 of those. But just for context here, Sean's our leader. He's 1-5, but he's up plus 4.5 units. And that is why you don't ask for someone's record. You ask how many units they're up, because that doesn't tell the full story. Behind him is Nick Giffen. He's up, wow. I mean, Nick, you could borderline retire off this. You are up plus 0.12 units, followed by Chris Raybon. You are minus 0.23 units. And me, by just tailing the 2 props every week, I am minus money as well. So it just shows you how hard my job really is, I think. And so no one wants to hear me talk. They want to hear the bets. So Sean Kerner, you lead us off as we get set for the Super Bowl here in Las Vegas, which I am here, by the way, in a hotel room. The grind doesn't stop. This is authentic. Tell me where I should be betting or what I should be betting.
Yeah, so for my first prop, I'm going with Fred Warner to have the most tackles and assists in the Super Bowl at plus 325. That's over at BetMGM. I'll go a half a unit on this one. But yesterday I gave out Jair Brown at 75 to 1. He's down to 17 to 1. I actually hope that he ends up taking on this market. But this price is a little bit too inflated right now because Warner should be the favorite. I had his fair odds closer to 2 to 1, right in line with like Nick Bolton. I think it's going to be one of those 2 guys to take down this market. Warner is one of the best linebackers in the game. He's a tackle machine. He had 13 tackles in the conference championship round against the Lions. He would have easily taken down this market. The Chiefs are very similar to the Lions at they provide a ton of tackling opportunities for opposing linebackers. So I think he's going to have a good game here. And I think it's a nice hedge on my Browns 75 to 1 bet. But like I said, I think this should be closer to 2 to 1. So I think we're getting some pretty good value here at Fred Warner at plus 325.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a hard time for the defensive player prop. I'll ask you this instead. What about about these, leader in the game, most in the game props have you been able to find value in? Is that just a product of there's so many props on the board for Super Bowl week that you have to look elsewhere? The market's not as sharp because you hit Aaron Jones in the divisional round, longest rush of that game at 7 to 1 in the divisional round. So is that kind of peek behind the curtain?
Yeah. So like these markets, like they've never offered this market, I don't think ever. So this is the first time. When they did introduce that longest rush prop, I think that was the first time they'd done it. So they're pretty inefficient. So that's why I'm finding value. Something like the, anytime touchdown market at this point is very efficient. They've been offering those for every game. Like they can evaluate that pretty easily. Whereas these unique markets, they're just kind of new with it. So I think they've been shaky. Like they had Aaron Jones with the 5th best odds for the longest rush behind Jordan Love and Emmanuel Wilson, which is crazy. So that's why I'm up 4 units, even though I'm 1-5. But yeah, so these markets that we've never seen before for the Super Bowl, I've been finding a lot more value because they're just inefficient right now.
I thought it was more you were just adapting to what I told you I liked is these, longer plus money. I was hoping that could have been the answer.
That's part of it too. That's part of it.
Yeah, hopefully. Nick Giffen, what direction are you going in your first bet of the or not your first bet? If you follow him in the Action app, he's had a ton, but on this program, your first bet.
Yeah, well, we're kind of going towards my first bet. Technically my first was overtime, but my first player prop was Charvarius Ward, anytime interception at 10 to 1 at FanDuel. But now I'm going to take him first interception, 18 to 1 at FanDuel for half a unit. And, Sean talked about efficient markets. Well, this is not one of those efficient markets because if we compare this around, DraftKings has this at 9.5 to 1 18-1 is a long way off. And if we look at other books, especially books like Circa, they have Charvarius Ward as like the favored guy to have an interception. So you'd probably think he's favored to have the first interception as well. Ward has the most passes defended of all defensive players in this game, and it's pretty far ahead of second place L'Jarius Sneed. In fact, if we just take all the player passes defended and kind of use their rates and then plop them into this game, he would have about 1/8 of the passes defended in this game if we replayed it over a bunch of times. He has 5 interceptions on 24 passes defended, which is basically right at expectation. Around 1/5 of all passes defended are intercepted. So there hasn't really been any luck in Charvarius Ward's interception rate this year. He's also a great fit for Patrick Mahomes because he plays on the left side cornerback position at 90% or even more percent of the time. And Mahomes throws his worst balls to the right side. So, of course, the left defensive side is Mahomes' right offensive side. 42.9% of Mahomes' bad balls are to the right side, and 47.8% of his career interceptions have gone to the right side, which is, of course, Charvarius Ward's side, including 20 of 69 career interceptions to the short right side, which is certainly where Ward would be. And that's a great opportunity for a pick six as well if you're getting it at the short right side. He'll be guarding Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Justin Watson a lot. And I'm quoting Sean Kerner here. Both wide receivers tend to run curls and corners at a high rate, and Charvarius Ward leads the league with 2 interceptions versus curl and corner routes. So I have him around plus 750 just to get an interception. And looking at Mahomes and Purdy, this may be the only interception of the game, would be the first interception. So I really like 18-1 here.
Well, you tell me that, Nick. I mean, I'm just thinking, what is if you could handicap what this closes at, I guess the FanDuel number, is this really is it all gonna catch up FanDuel to the other markets here? And if so, what would you advise someone trying to, get the best number?
Well, it definitely should close closer to the others because I like it. So I think it's super value here. I'd probably play this down to around 12-1. I've got him, like I said, 7.5-1 for an anytime interception. And there's a good chance if he gets an interception, it may be the only interception. So, I think in that 10 to 12 range is probably where it should be.
All right. Well, for the people here, I'm going to have to consider that in case, they don't shop around like we do. Chris Raybon, you round us out here in round 1. You've been so quiet. I miss hearing your voice. Usually you're piping in, angry about something.
Hey, I'm just letting these guys cook, man. But I am going, Tim, with Deebo Samuel, most rushing and receiving yards in this game at 9-1. I think fair value should be about plus 650 in this market. So he's done it in about just over 13% of his games this year, which is about plus 650. But I think that's kind of the floor because remember, he wasn't playing, even in the games where he was healthy, he wasn't always playing a full complement of snaps. There was times when he was using as a decoy or just being pulled early. But this game, he's going to play every snap if he's healthy. Then you look at how he's performed indoors in his career, and he's averaging 15.9 yards a catch indoors compared to, 14.5, just total. And his yards per carry goes up to 7.7 indoors compared to just over 6, looking at all of his runs. So he should be a little more efficient on the fast track. And I think the thing that helps him in this market is, number one, all 3 of the top 3 Chiefs players that we expect to get touches, Pacheco, Kelsey, and Rice, they kind of have similar yardage projections. They're all very highly targeted in this offense, so they could cancel each other out a little bit. Remember last year in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes only had 182 passing yards. Jalen Hurts had 304. So, you could easily see the Chiefs' opponent getting a lot of receiving yards, which would help Deebo. And then he obviously gets a boost in the rushing yardage market because any carry that he gets is going to kind of cut into his main competition on San Francisco, which is Christian McCaffrey. And we haven't really seen a blow up Deebo game rushing yet, but this Chiefs, that is the vulnerability of this Chiefs defense. They're 27th in DVOA against the run. And Deebo, he's had a high of 10 carries on multiple occasions in the postseason in the past. So I'm not saying he gets that high, especially with McCaffrey here, but 5-6 carries is certainly realistic in the last game of the year where you don't have to worry about Deebo Samuel's health. He's going to put everything on the line. So I think Deebo is just a great bet for kind of long shot leaderboard options in this game, because Kyle Shanahan, he's always going to kind of game plan around having Deebo, and that's been compromised on a lot of occasions, even when Deebo's been kind of healthy this year, because he hasn't been fully healthy. So this could be just a monster Deebo game. And you're also helped by, personally, I think the Chiefs are a little underrated in the market. So I think the Niners could be in a little more negative game script than possible, which would help Deebo in the in the receiving yardage market compared to a guy like McCaffrey, who's just going to get, shorter targets and catches. So like Deebo Samuel, 9-1 most rushing and receiving yards in this game.
There's a lot of talk about, Spagnuolo's defense, Raybon. I know you're not necessarily a defensive coordinator, but I see 9-1. It seems a little too good to be true. Like, what is the Chiefs' plan for Deebo? Like, how do you contain him? Why is this number so long? Like, I feel like it seems that Spagnuolo is just going to shut him down, but I don't really know with who or and how.
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, again, you still have 3 Chiefs players that are in kind of a similar yardage bracket to Deebo, with Pacheco, Kelsey, and Rashee Rice. But also, Deebo this year, he's averaging, his rush attempts have usually been in like the 2 to 3 carry range. So, you're not really getting as many added rushing yards as his ceiling. Like his floor is 0. His median for rushing yards is probably around 15. But his ceiling, he's gotten, 30 plus in, I think it's like over half of his playoff games. So his ceiling for rushing yardage is just a lot higher. And that's going to kind of raise his ceiling, which is what you're looking for in this market. But to talk about the plan, I think you're going to see a lot of man coverage from the Chiefs. I think you're going to see L'Jarius Sneed on him some, because he can move around, and you're going to see McDuffie on him some. But, the Chiefs are going to play man coverage. They're not going to be afraid to even leave guys one-on-one with these receivers, especially because I think they're going to pay more attention than usual to the run game and McCaffrey. So I think, Samuel is going to have opportunities for big plays, as will Brandon Ayuk, but he's already, he's another reason why Samuel's price low is because, like, look at last week, or last game, Ayuk catches that 51-yarder. That's like a lucky catch. If he doesn't catch that, he has 51 less receiving yards that you're factoring in. So just something like that, there's been a lot of explosives this year. I would say an outlying amount almost for Kittle and Ayuk. And Deebo's been kind of in and out of the lineup. So he's the guy, I think, on this San Francisco team that's a little bit undervalued just based on regression factors as well.
All right, Raybon, Deebo Samuel, most rush and receiving yards in the Super Bowl, 9-1. Kerner, your prop was Fred Warner, most tackles plus assists in the game at plus 325. And Nick Kiffin, you have defensive back. What's his name? I get it wrong all the time. Chardarius?
Charizard, yeah.
Charizard. Okay, there you go. I that's one of those things you say Ward. I would never want to say everyone's name wrong. It's so embarrassing. You just go, yeah, Ward, defensive back. So 18-1 for the first interception. Nick Kiffin there. Okay, Raybon, I'll give you one chance here. Last week I was right about Gus Edwards, was I not?
No, he had 16 yards on his first carry. He just didn't get carried. It wasn't because he was like plotting or whatever you were saying. Okay, so, but you were right in not tailing it. You did tail. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we did make that whole deal. Okay, so because you couldn't just say, Tim, you were right, I'm gonna go with Nick Kiffin here, the long 18-1 Ward first interception. I love something like that.
Tim, I think you made the wrong pick.
Oh,
I think you made. I love my pick, but remember you picked Deebo Samuel most rushing and receiving yards against Green Bay, and that was plus 450.
Okay.
That was plus 450. Now, he had 2 catches for 24 yards in the first 3 plays of the game and got injured. He was going to go off then. I love this value on Raybon's at 9-1. I think it's maybe slightly better value than the one I'm giving, but I think all 3 of us have great value here in terms of our bets.
What Nick is saying, Tim, what Nick is saying, Tim, is that you're wrong no matter what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick is saying that Nick does not want me to mush him. That's the problem. And our producer just told me that. He does not want me to mush him. So you know what, Nick? I'm going to take your word for it. Chris Raybon, you're the winner.
Oh boy.
There we
Oh,
go.
boy.
Most rush
That was
plus
very
receiving yards.
roundabout.
Yeah. I'm going there. Not to mention Kerner, I do love the Fred Warner prop, but you just lost out on the longest odds here. I'm sorry. It's a cold world
Well,
sometimes.
that's your loss. If you didn't get the 75-1.
Yeah, that is my
To be
loss. I know.
fair.
I was traveling
Oh no.
I can't just be on my phone racing to the book all the time. Some of us do have lives, Sean Kerner. So the round one winner is
Wow.
I was gonna
Chris
say.
Raybon.
Wow, shots.
Yeah, wait, was that directed at me?
It's endearing.
He said Sean Kerner at the end of it. I think it was
know.
directed at you, sir.
It was
surprised.
endearing. It was endearing. Okay. All right. You're back on the clock here. Top of the order, second round.
Well, I mean, these long shots have been working. I thought like Aaron Jones 7-1 was a no-brainer. So I'm going the other way. I'm giving you one that has a ton of juice. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey, more receiving yards than Isaiah Pacheco, minus 230. So take that. You can get that at FanDuel. But this one, this one's pretty straightforward. Christian McCaffrey obviously has the much higher floor ceiling combo than Pacheco in this specific market. He's favored by 15 to 16 yards. If you were to get 15 to 16 yards on his receiving prop, it should be worth way more than minus 230. That's just a ton of value. Plus, we've seen, Pacheco's seen an increase in receiving usage ever since Jerick McKinnon went on IR in week 16. He's seeing a 20% increase in routes run rate. If we were just to see that continue, I would still price this around minus 320 for Christian McCaffrey. If Jerick McKinnon is out, I have this at minus 320.
Okay.
If something changes and McKinnon ends up playing, I would only like this even more.
I'll ask you this, Kerner. You said the spread on their head-to-head yardage is what, 15 and a half. So, you add up all these 10 cents and we get we just don't get.
That's what I'm saying is I'm actually, I'm in agreement with the 15 to 16 yards. Again, I'm assuming Jerick McKinnon's even out when I'm saying this. And when I simulate the game 1,000 times or whatever, it should be closer to like a 78% chance or whatever that Christian McCaffrey outgains Pacheco in this market. So I'm just saying that they're not factoring in enough like how valuable that gap is.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes or a lot of times sharp thing to do is to lay the juice. And I think a lot of people don't really would be quick to look past that. And maybe I send a message here to the rest of the community of saying, hey, I'm gonna tell Sean Kerner because you can be sharp by laying a big number like that. I'll keep it in mind as we move to Nick Giffen. What do you got for me?
Yeah, well, Sean gets to play it safe because he's in the lead by 4.5.
Trying to pad my record
like
too.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to pad my record a little bit.
Got to pad the record. So no going safe here. I am going to go with the Super Bowl MVP, either quarterback or the field, and I'm going to take the field. Tim, you're in Vegas right now. You said you can get this plus 220 at Stations Casinos in Vegas. They're all over the area here. If you're not in Nevada, that's okay. You can get a plus 205 at Caesars, 2-1 at DraftKings FanDuel. I like all those numbers because look, in the 2000s, 37.5% of MVPs have been non-quarterbacks. So that's already plus 167 if we translated that to being the long-term fair value. And I think maybe that's even a little high specifically for this game because look at the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes probably hasn't been the MVP in any of his 3 games. Certainly not in the games versus Miami, which would have been either Rashee Rice or Harrison Butker kicking butt and making a lot of field goals, or the Baltimore game where Travis Kelce had 11 catches on 11 targets for 11 million yards and 11 touchdowns. But then we look at San Francisco side of the ball. Brock Purdy probably wouldn't have been MVP in either game, with Christian McCaffrey going for over 90 yards and getting some receiving yards and multi-touchdowns in both games. Plus, Travis Kelce, Christian McCaffrey, we got some big names, some big narratives here. Taylor Swift, I don't know if that helps or hurts the odds here. But we certainly have some really big names that could dissuade voters from going with the respective quarterbacks on these teams. And there could be voter fatigue, as Raybon mentioned on the Favorites podcast with Mahomes if Kansas City wins. Look at Tom Brady won 2, and then Deion Branch won the 3rd MVP when Tom Brady won again, and then Tom Brady won 2, and then Julian Edelman won MVP the 3rd time.
Yep.
So, well, Mahomes has already won twice. So, nice little point there by Raybon that could go away from Mahomes.
People are comparing the careers,
Yeah. So
in all ways.
Exactly. So I think this is a spot where maybe plus 167 isn't even really the true fair value in this particular game. It could be more like plus 150 or even a little bit shorter. So it's plus 220, 2-1. I love that value.
Yeah, 2 reasons I like this. One, I look at it as a free roll in terms of I don't know what the voters are going to think of Brock Purdy if San Francisco wins. This is the best part about gambling, in my opinion, is that we're not arguing over who we think is going to be the MVP or like our MVP. It's who we think they're going to vote for. And we're trying to say, look, if you just open up Twitter, read anything, there's been a lot of narratives about, say, Brock Purdy is extremely polarizing in terms of his value to his team. Patrick Mahomes could be voter fatigue. So you're basically just saying, look, I think I have some doubt about that this isn't necessarily a slam dunk quarterback MVP Super Bowl. So I appreciate you looking at it that way. And people say, Nick Giffen said the quarterbacks suck. It's like, no, he's talking about the voters, what the voters think. So Chris Raybon, you're 3rd here. Finish us up. You're the caboose. Our last bet of this, playoff little prop lock drop show here, but not the last bet we'll place by the time this game kicks off, I imagine.
All right. So usually I use my knowledge of, backup tight ends and 5th string wide receivers to play disgusting unders. But since it's the Super Bowl, I'm going to give you a long shot anytime touchdown bet. And that's Blake Bell, 30-1. I think that is underselling him. I think it should be about plus 1,800 or so. If you look at Kansas City, they're using more 1-3 personnel down the stretch. That's because, they have all those terrible 4th and 5th string receivers that they just didn't want to use. They want to lean into the run more, which I think is, going up against San Francisco. There's no reason for them to stop doing that. But what we want is him on the field more and to get like a little play action or something. That can certainly happen because there's a few reasons. Number one, we know San Francisco, their safeties, their top linebackers, which is Fred Warner, you're going to have to pay attention to Kelsey, number one, right? So Blake Bell's automatically going to get like either Greenlaw or somebody else. And Greenlaw himself has been targeted 17 times in these 2 playoff games. So that's always good for the backup tight end. And then you also factor in Kansas City does not sneak. So that's big for a guy like Blake Bell, the 3rd tight end, because what that does is that opens up other plays to score around the goal line, whether it be like sometimes it'll benefit the running back, but it could also be a little play action to him. And
he was a college quarterback.
Yeah, he's
where you're going.
Yeah, so he's actually
the bulldozer.
12% of his career touches with the Chiefs have been rushing attempts. He has 4 rushing attempts with the Chiefs. So he is liable to get one of those quarterback sneaks. And, this year he does have a touchdown. So if you just look, that's a 5% chance, 1 in 20, a little better with Mahomes if you take out the week 18 game, which he didn't score, but let's say 1 in 20, that's a 19-1 odds. So I do think Bell is a little bit undervalued here because he's usually going to run maybe like 10% of the routes, but that's really dependent on them getting into the goal line area in the red zone. Like if they run like 6 or 7 plays inside the 10, which is certainly possible, then, his route percentage is going to go up. So I like this because it's volatile, it's undervalued, and you could see a pass. And remember last year, there were also guys like Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, both scored rare receiving touchdowns for those guys in the Super Bowl. We're still talking about Patrick Mahomes, but we're talking about Andy Reid. He likes to kind of do things that you wouldn't expect. So like Blake, bro, I think this is one of them, this anytime touchdown market, anytime any of us say anything like, or anyone else does in the industry, they're going to get bet up and move all around. So this is one of the last ones that I still see like, okay, it's a long shot and there's still decent value. Like you're not really overpaying for Blake Bell at 30-1.
Is this a full unit?
Whatever I need to catch you guys. So
Yeah, I'm saying like
You don't need
if
to
it's a
come
full,
down,
if I need a full,
if Blake Bell scores a touchdown, I think you win.
Didn't you go full unit on your first pick of the whole playoffs, like 25-1? Sean?
Oh
Sean,
no, that was the Aaron Jones. I
yeah,
love that
no,
one
he
so much.
followed
I
it up
said
with
screw it. I didn't say
yeah.
like 0.2 units. I said
Right.
full
That was Aaron
unit.
Jones one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm going chicken route and 0.5, 0.2 units. Now that I built the lead, but I think Raybon's going to take it down if Blake Bell scores. So it's going to come
yeah,
down to
I'll
that.
go half unit because that would be what 15 units. That should,
Oh yeah,
that should be,
you would lock it
yeah,
up.
It would go half
Yep.
unit
Yeah.
here.
Raybon, and plus betting this, and if it happens, you get to wherever you are, you just get to scream belldozer,
Yes.
belldozer. It is like that is everything I'm looking for in a Super Bowl prop. Also, too, bonus pick. My favorite bet for the Super Bowl is over 2.5 players to have a passing attempt. So that is, goes along the same lines of the, exotics, especially with the Chiefs running the red zone. It's just my favorite bet to take every Super Bowl because you get to cheer when a random guy throws the ball and everyone says, how did you have money on that? And you go, oh no,
Who you handicapping to be the favorite to have the third pass?
Ooh.
Gotta be a niner. I would say a niner, right? Because
favorite
they
for
don't
the
like to
third-
take it out of Mahomes' hands.
I was
So
gonna say that would help. That would help the Ward interception if they let Tony throw it. Like,
Yeah.
chuck it up to
There you go.
Ward. Like
Please
that would help.
no.
You need somebody other than Mahomes to throw it.
I believe so.
McCaffrey.
I would say it's Debo, and he also because he in the Super Bowl that they played a couple years ago, he actually got a play to run or to throw, and he tuck it and ran. So that's something to keep in mind. And I believe Caesars is offering players to have a passing attempt. It's definitely
Juwan
not
Jennings was a pretty good quarterback
there
at
you
one
go.
point. So
The odds on those are very short, so do not do not take those. I would tell people. So for the second round and the last round of this playoffs, I'm gonna go with the front runner, the leader himself, Sean Kerner. I have to say, very good educational, convincing argument on why taking juice. There can still be value there, can still be sharp. That's Christian McCaffrey to have more receiving yards in the game than Isaiah Pacheco. Nick Giffen, you had a great prop as well. You're taking field versus MVP quarterback. So MVP,
Yeah, and you didn't pick either of mine, so I'm definitely hitting both. Which
Yeah,
is how this works.
exactly.
That's how this
there
works.
you go.
Nick, exactly. And I'm running as soon as I hang this up to go place that in person at one of these casinos. So, we could keep it between
There you
us and Raybon as well. I'm definitely sprinkling on the Blake Bell. I just want to yell Belldozer. So thank you guys for Sean Kerner, Nick Giffen, Chris Raybon. It's been an incredible playoffs. I think we should do a bonus show recapping what happened if these win or lose in dramatic fashion. So good luck to all of you betting the big game. The three of these fine gents right here. Make sure you follow them, the Action app. You set the notifications because you're going to want to see what they're betting as close as we get to game time here. So for all you guys, enjoy, and all the people watching at home, have a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday.